Deacon.
That's 100 points.
No features, you know. A little case of nostalgia, thinking back, testimonies where we came from. We did that, so hopefully you won't have to go through that.
Oh, yeah, believe in the Bible? You do? Hey, come over here and come listen to this word just real quick. All praises. How you doing today? Good, good. So, you are you so-called Hispanic? You are? Okay. You ever heard that according to the Bible you might be an Israelite? Well, according to the Bible, you are Israelite. You never heard about that before? Okay, okay. Well, you mind if I show you a few things real quick?
I got all the time in the world.
All right, bet. Give me Deuteronomy 28, verse 1. All right. So when God was speaking, when God was speaking to the Israelites with Moses, he was telling Moses a list of blessings and a list of curses. Now, befall his people, right? If we were to keep his commandments or if we were to break his commandments, right? In verse 46 says that these curses are going to be upon us and our seed forever as a sign to let us know. Those curses are going to be upon us and our seed as a sign to let us know who we are, right? And we know that according to the Bible that this was the Israelites that God was giving these curses and blessings to, right? So let's just see if some of these curses match your life and matches your forefathers' life, right? So let's get Deuteronomy 28 verse 1. This is Deuteronomy 28 verse 1. And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently. So if we pay attention closely to God's word, unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. So if we're to do these commandments that God, come over here real quick. If we're to do these commandments that God told us to do, he said he's going to set us above all nations of the earth. He's not going to make us the same, and he's not going to make us inferior. Contrary to popular belief, you ask anybody, they'll say, oh, well, the so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American man, they're the lowest of on the totem pole, right? But in God's eyes, the Israelites, the Blacks, Hispanic, and Native Americans, even though we went off and we're not keeping God's commandments, we're still God's prized possession. He chose us. He chose our, get Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 37. And this is why God chose us. It's not because of our merits, right? It's just simply because he wanted to have mercy upon our forefathers, and he chose and he loved our forefathers. Deuteronomy 4:37. And because he loved thy fathers. So because he loved our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, this is what he did. Therefore he chose their seed after them. He chose their seed, us, me and you. And brought thee out in his sight with his mighty power out of Egypt. Right. So the Most High God, because of the favor that he had upon our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, he says, okay, I choose to display my power and to get that seed line, the Israelites, out of Egypt. So the same type of miraculous works he did. You remember Egypt, right? With Moses and the Red Sea and all that stuff. Have you ever heard about that story? Okay.
Prince of Egypt, the movie? Okay, yeah. Prince of Egypt.
Never seen that. Well, we'll kind of give you a crash course just real quick about it. But let's go back to Deuteronomy 28, verse 15. So we got where he says that if you keep my commandments, I'm going to set you above all nations. But let's see what happens if we don't keep God's commandments.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God.
So it shall come to pass. Numbers 23:19 says that God is not a man that he should lie. So he says it will come to pass if you don't keep my commandments, right? What's going to happen?
To observe to do his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses.
All these what?
All these curses.
Curses. Now, are curses a good thing or bad thing? Bad thing, right?
And all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
So these curses, they're going to come upon you and overtake you. So let's just look at a few notable curses, right? Just to is that it on that?
Yeah, that's it on there.
Okay. All right. So let's see a few notable curses that happened to the Israelites, right? So let's get Deuteronomy 28 and Give me the one, 47? Yeah, 47.
Well, no, I mean, hold on, 49. This is verse 49. It says, the Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth.
So he's going to bring a nation, right, against us from afar. So does that sound familiar? Does that sound familiar? Like, are you familiar? Like, do you know, you ever heard of the Aztecs and the Mayans?
Nah, I heard of it, but I didn't know too much.
Okay. Well, you descend from the Aztecs and the Mayans, the so-called Mexican man, right? Like, you're, you know.
Yeah.
You're, what's up?
That man.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you descend from the Aztecs and the Mayans, right? And so what happened to the Aztecs and the Mayans? It was a nation. The Portuguese, they came over there, right? And they raped, robbed, and murdered your people just how they did us, the so-called black Hispanic, well, the so-called black man, right? They took us off the west coast of Africa, right? Raped, robbed, and murdered us. Same thing, same way how they did to your people, right?
It says, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand.
A nation whose tongue we should not understand, meaning we're not going to understand the language that they. It means that it says a nation whose tongue we're not going to understand, meaning we're not going to understand the language that they're speaking, right? You weren't, your people, y'all weren't originally speaking Spanish. That's what the Spaniards put upon you, right? So what were you speaking before that? History shows that you were speaking Hebrew because you're a Hebraic people, you're Israelites according to the Bible.
A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor shew favor to the young.
So these people are not going to care whether you're young or whether you're old. They're still going to mistreat you and abuse you, and they've been doing that all the way up till today. Look at us today. Who do you, if you, just, let's just not even really include the Bible in this. If you're just looking at it through a secular worldview, right? Who will you consider to be the most cursed people on this earth? I mean, look at this. Look, just look at it. Look around. Who fills up neighborhoods like this? Everywhere, all across the globe. Not just here in the United States, but all across the globe. Every single ghetto. Who's there? Hispanics and blacks, right? Is this a coincidence? How come we don't never see, you know, a large predominancy of so-called white men and women there? Because they're not cursed. God isn't chastening them. Hebrews 12:6, that so he says who he loves, he chastens as a son. So if you're not getting chastened by the Most High, he's not showing that he loves you, right? But he's chastening us. Give me Amos chapter 3, verse 2. This is, you got a verse?
This is Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 16. Cursed shalt thou be in the city.
Cursed shall we be in the city, right? Where are we right now? We're in the city. We're cursed, right? We're begging for bread. We don't know when our next meal is going to be. We don't know how we're going to pay our next rent bill. You know, we don't know any of these things. We don't have a vehicle. We don't have mode of transportation. We're in want of all things.
Cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field.
Cursed shall we be in the field. The so-called black man and the so-called Hispanic man, right? When we're working for the white man out there in the cotton fields and sugarcane fields and all those different types of farms, right? We're cursed out there as well. You know, and even when they lock us up in jail, when they take us to certain prisons, guess what? What do you think those prisoners are doing? How do you think all this textile is being made by these major clothing companies? They got us out there in the cotton field still. That's why in the amendment it says that slavery is still legal, but they gotta imprisonate you first.
That's pretty good.
That's it on that? Okay. Amos 3 and 2 real quick. Do you see yourself on the side right here?
This is Amos 3 and 2. You only have I known of all the families of the earth.
So God is speaking to the Israelites, and he says, you only have I known of all the families of the earth, right? So of course he made all these nations, but he's only known us, meaning he's has intimate dealings with us.
Therefore, I will punish you for all your iniquities.
He says, therefore he will punish us for all of our iniquities, right? So who looks like they're the most punished nation on this earth today? So-called blacks, Hispanic, and Native Americans. Why? Because God only knows us. He is our God and none else. So with you knowing that you're Israelite, did you see yourself on that sign? Does Issachar look familiar to you? You told me that you're Mexican. that last row. See that last row? See it says Mexican. You tell me you're Mexican, right? So you'll be in the tribe of Issachar, one of the 12 tribes from the nation of Israel. These are all of Jacob's seeds. So you from the tribe of Issachar, bro? Is your father a so-called Mexican? Mexicano? Okay, your grandpa too? Okay, so I mean, spirit bears witness, Hey man, you're Israelite. So there's a requirement that God requires of you with you being an Israelite. Somebody get that for me. Come on, yeah.
It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 10, verse 12. And now, Israel, what doth the Lord thy God require of thee?
So what does he require of us? Now, since you know that you're Israelite, what does he want what does he want from you?
But to fear the Lord thy God, to walk in all his ways, and to love him, and to serve the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul, to keep the commandments of the Lord.
To keep the what?
To keep the commandments of the Lord.
Contrary to what the Christian church would tell us, is only 10 commandments. According to the Bible, there's 613 commandments, right? And some of those include not eating pork, not eating crab, not eating lobster. You gotta put fringes on your clothes. Don't shave your beard. Simple things like that.
To keep the commandments of the Lord and his statutes, which I command thee this day for thy good.
It's for our good. Why is it for our good? Because whenever we don't keep these commandments, he makes us subject to these curses. He allows us to continue to get shot down in the street. He allows us to continue to let our enemies' foot be on our necks, or feet be on our necks. Just like you heard of that, brother. That happened up in Minnesota, right? You heard about that? You didn't hear about that? Yeah, you didn't hear about George Floyd? You heard about it? Yeah. So that was a judgment from the Most High. Because he said these curses are going to be upon us and our seed forever. All because we went off. Yeah. So when we turn back to the laws of the Most High God, give me Baruch chapter 4. Yeah, Baruch 4. When we turn back to the laws of the Most High God, he's going to have pity upon us. He's going to have pity upon us, man. And then these curses are going to fall off. Then they're going to cleave to our enemies after that. Then, just how we are slaves in this kingdom, they're going to be slaves in our kingdom. They're going to have to build up our kingdom, right? But we don't want to be caught along. We don't want to be caught up along with the sinners of our people that's going to be down by the sword. We want to be righteous men and women of the Most High God, keeping these commandments. Baruch 4 and verse 1.
Verse 1. It says, this is the book of the Baruch 4, verse 1. This is the book of the commandments of God and the law that endureth forever.
So this law endures forever. It's not going away. It's not going away contrary to popular belief, right?
All they that keep it shall come to life.
So if you keep it, you're going to come to life. It's going to be for your good. Now, we want to live, don't we? We're tired of getting shot down. We're tired of not having enough to sustain ourselves and sustain our kids, right? We want to come to life, man.
It says, but such as leave it shall die.
But whoever leaves this word, whoever leaves the laws of the Most High God, you're going to die. It's that simple. The Most High God, he's cut, dry, and precise. He's straight to the point. He's not trying to sugarcoat anything. He's not being around the bush. He says, let your nay be nay and your yea be yea. He says, keep my commandments and live. If you don't, you're going to die. Just that simple, my brother. So my job, right, as the mouthpiece of God, is to simply tell you to keep his law, statutes, and commandments. So somebody got a flyer for him?
Yeah.
You got a flyer? Okay, good. Yeah, so definitely check out that flyer and own it. It's got our YouTube channels, and just watch some videos, man. Get edified, brother. You know what I'm saying? This is very important. What you're seeing right before your eyes, this is prophecy happening. You think we just decided up one day, hey, let's get on the street corner and teach our people. No, the Spirit of God worked on each and every single one of these brothers up here, including myself. We weren't looking for this, but we have a mission. This is what we are created to do, to show judgment to our people, righteous judgment. You know what I'm saying? Because we're definitely not getting from the secular government. They tell us all types of wickedness every single day. This is not the land of our rest, but the way how we get to the land of our rest, we keep those laws, statutes, and commandments, bro. So that's pretty much all I had to say to you. But if you want to stick around here and listen to the word,
I
Feel
would
free.
love to, man, but I gotta get back to my other
Okay,
kids.
bet. I'm glad you stopped by and listened to
Oh,
us.
yeah.
And definitely check out that flyer, man.
Yeah, sure.
All right, y'all be
All right,
careful.
man. Y'all too.
All right. Yeah, so with that, I want to say, call Allah, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, and that's all praises to the Heavenly Father, and who the world entered the cause, Jesus Christ, man. So yeah, give me Micah chapter 3, verse 8. I want to talk about how, too many blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, y'all have gotten too comfortable in this predicament we're in. The Most High God, He's showing us signs right now. He's showing us, nation rising against nation right now. He's showing us, these various viruses, plaguing the earth, all these different signs, but we still don't want to wake up. We still thinking that America's going to save us, man. We're still thinking that this is our rest. We're over here laboring for these jobs, still trying to stash money away, or maybe all this stuff is going to pass by, maybe it's going to blow off. No, this is it. This is it, man.
This is Micah chapter 3, verse 8.
Uh-huh.
But truly I am full of power.
So truly I'm full of power. Why am I full of power? Because the Most High God put His Spirit upon me to do this.
By the Spirit of the Lord, and of judgment.
And of judgment. Something that this world does not have anymore, right? They say, oh, only God can judge me. You can't judge me. No. But the man of the Lord is supposed to show judgment. God is known. Give me Psalm chapter 37. You got some? Bit.
This is Proverbs 31 and verse 8. Open thy mouth for all the dumb in the cause of all such.
Open your mouth. That means you need to speak. Don't necessarily hide behind a keyboard, right? And don't just think, oh, well, somebody else is going to do it. God already set up men and women or men to do this. No, he's telling you to open your mouth.
Of all such as are appointed to destruction, open thy mouth, judge righteously.
Judge righteously. That's how we judge. That's how we judge. That's how Yahweh Shah told us to judge, right?
Judge righteously and plead the cause of the poor and needy.
Plead the cause for the poor and the needy, man. Because these are the ones who need it. Nobody's watching out for these people. So if we take care of the little ones, if we feed the sheep of God's pasture, God is going to feed us.
Well, you want Psalms what?
Psalms 37 and let's see.
37's right here.
Okay. I want to say verse Lord, they shall not.
What does it say?
The Lord is known.
Now
Now 16.
let's say it. That's all.
Okay, come on.
This is Psalm chapter 9, verse 16. The Lord is known by the judgment.
So the Lord is known by the judgment, right? Right now, the world doesn't really know God because God has been withholding those four winds of strife, right? Because He's waiting for His elect to get sealed. So with this time of so-called peace that we've been having for a little bit, for a little season, He says, because, give me Ecclesiastes chapter 8, verse 11. Because this is why the world doesn't know God.
Ecclesiastes 8 and 11. Because sentence against an evil work is not executed speedily.
So because God doesn't come down here and strike you so-called blacks, Hispanic, and Native Americans for all your wickedness immediately.
Therefore, the heart of the sons of men is fully set in them to do evil.
Your heart becomes hard because you're not seeing the judgments of the Most High God right then and there. So with that, you forget that God is a God of judgment. You forget how you forget what He's like, man. He's the one who created all that. He's the one who creates these thunderstorms, these hurricanes, these tornadoes, right? But you forgot about all that, man, because he's delaying his fury.
I got this. I'm going to precept after that.
Got it.
This is Psalms. I'm reading in Psalm chapter 9, verse 16. The Lord is known by the judgment which He executeth. The wicked is ensnared in the work of his own hands.
The wicked is ensnared with the work of his own hands. Look at Esau's kingdom right now. He didn't intend for all this to go like this, right? But the Most High God made him do all this. And now the very pit that He did for us, he's about to fall into it, all right?
This is Exodus chapter 7, verse 4 through 5. But Pharaoh shall not hearken unto you, that I may lay my hand upon Egypt, and bring forth my armies and my people, the children of Israel, out of the land of Egypt by great judgments.
By great judgments, just how he's going to show great judgments in this land when he redeems the elect.
Watch this. And I'm going to read that part again.
Yeah.
Out of the land of Egypt by great judgments, and the Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord.
That's right. You Americans are going to know that the God of Israel, he is our God. You're going to know that this is the God of the universe. This is the only one true God. There's none else beside him. Y'all are going to, you wicked Americans, y'all are going to see that, man. But right now, y'all don't see it because he's been delaying he's been delaying the execution of his judgments, man. You know? That's it on that?
Yeah. Verse 5 again. And the Egyptians shall know that I'm the Lord when I stretch forth mine hand upon Egypt and bring out the children of Israel from among them.
We know that this is modern day Egypt, according to Revelation 11 and 8, right? So just like it said there in Exodus, you Egyptians or Americans, y'all gonna know. Y'all gonna know that this is the God to be reckoned with right here. Jeremiah 2:14 real quick. And Baruch 3 and 8 through 12. Because our people, we've gotten so comfortable here, we forgot how we even got here in the first place. You know, we just think that, oh, well, I'm an American, you know, like everything's kosher. I got my job. I got, some good credit or whatever, but you forget how you got here in the first place.
This is Jeremiah 2:14. Is Israel a servant?
Is Israel a servant? Yeah, we are.
Is he a homeborn slave?
Yes, we are.
Why is he spoiled? The young lions, that's it on that?
Yeah, that's it on that. So is Israel a servant? Are you a homeborn slave? Yes. Are you so-called blacks, Hispanic, and Native Americans? Are y'all homeborn slaves? Yes. You were born here in America. This is not the land of your rest. This is not the land of your nativity. You were from Israel. But we've gotten too comfortable here, man.
This is the book of Baruch, chapter 3, verse, you said 8? 8 through 12. Behold, we are yet this day in our captivity.
We are yet this day in our captivity in Egypt, modern day Egypt. Still doing what?
Where thou hast scattered us for reproach and a curse.
For reproach and a curse, right? Everybody's reproaching at us. They're calling us by these other names, man.
And to be subject to payments.
Subject to payments. You gotta you skip one payment on your rent, you out.
To be subject to payments according to all the iniquities of our fathers, which departed from the Lord your God, our God. Hear, Israel, the commandments of life. Give ear to understand wisdom.
So listen to the commandments of life. Let's get this wisdom that we obtain from reading the Most High God, and not just reading, but understanding His law, statutes, and commandments. Because this is what gives us life, and this is what's going to get us redeemed.
Hear, Israel, the commandments of life. Give ear to understand wisdom. How happeneth it, Israel, that thou art in thine enemy's land, that thou art waxen old in the strange country?
And it's sad because I see a lot of our elders, in Israel, who don't know that they're Israelites, like our grandparents or whatnot. They're waxing old here, and they still think that they're part of the Commonwealth of America, just like everybody else. Like, oh, I'm an American, but it's like you're old here. Like you grew old here. This whole time you didn't know who you were, and it's really sad, man. Like imagine growing up your whole life, right, not knowing who in the hell you are in a strange land.
This is Isaiah 42 and verse 24. Who gave Jacob for a spoil and Israel to the robbers? Did not the Lord, he against whom we have sinned? For they would not walk in his ways, neither were they obedient unto his law.
Right.
Therefore he hath poured upon him the fury of his anger and the strength of battle, and it has set him on fire round about, yet he knew not, and it burned him, yet he laid it not to heart.
So God is the one who put us over here in this land, just as he promised. He says, it shall come to pass in that day that you don't hearken unto my law, statutes, and commandments, that these things are going to happen to you. So yes, he's the one who has allowed Jacob to become spoiled. He's the one who allowed us to be waxing old in this land. Because we're a hard-headed, stiff-necked, and rebellious people. But guess what? our hearts are starting to become circle. Give me Ezekiel 22, verse. Let's see. Because although for the most part, Israelites as a whole, we're still very stiff-necked and rebellious, but there's a select few that that's living out this prophecy right now. Ezekiel 22 and starting at 16, and we'll go to 17. Hold on, let's see. 15.
This is Ezekiel 22, verse 16.
15.
Or you want me to start at 15? So like you. And I will scatter thee among the heathen.
Just as he promised. We're scattered all across the four corners of this earth, man. You go to China, so-called Negro is over there. You go to Australia, so-called Negroes over there. You go wherever on this map, we're going to be there. Because just as he promised, he scattered us, man.
And disperse thee in the countries, and will consume thy filthiness out of thee.
He did it to consume the filthiness out of us, man. Because he knew that there's going to be a point in this history to where we're going to be sick and tired of living like this. He's got to purge us. He's got to purge us just like he refines gold in the fire to get all that dross off of it. That's what he's doing to the elect men and women.
And thou shalt take thine inheritance.
We're going to take our inheritance where?
In thyself, in the sight of the heathen.
We're going to take our inheritance in the sight of the heathen. What's our inheritance according to the Bible? Deuteronomy 33 and 4. What's our inheritance? And these heathens are getting mad that we're taking our inheritance in front of them because they're like, well, some of them be like, oh, that inheritance is done away with. Some of them is like, hey, let me do it along with you. But y'all can't do it if you wanted to. He didn't put it in your spirits. He said he sold his law in Israel.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 33, verse 4. Moses commanded us a law, even the inheritance of the congregation of Jacob.
So that inheritance that Ezekiel 22 is talking about is the law. So we're going to take this law in the sight of the heathens, and there's nothing you can do about it. This is prophecy, right? So yes, as Israel as a whole, we went off. The Most High God scattered us across these nations, you know, as a reproach, as a curse, just as he promised. But he says that there's going to be some of these Israelites here, they're going to be fulfilling this prophecy. We're going to be coming back to the Most High God. We're going to take our inheritance. We're going to take this law in these nations that we've been dispersed into, you know. Micah 2 and 10 and Deuteronomy 12 and 9. Because it's high time to awaken out of your sleep and to see where you are and to know who you are and to know who your God is, you know.
This is the book of Micah, chapter 2, verse 10. Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest.
Arise ye and depart. Now, of course, we're not necessarily departing physically from this land, but we need to depart spiritually and mentally from this land. Because if we're spiritually attached to this Babylon, we're going to burn up along with them, man. So we got to depart from it spiritually.
Because it is polluted, it shall destroy you, even with a sore destruction.
It's polluted. How's it polluted? Because it shed innocent blood here. Because it's sacrificing all types of abominations and wickedness here. And he says it's going to destroy us. And now look at our people. We're destroyed in the mental, man. We're destroyed spiritually.
Con, this is Deuteronomy 12 and verse 9. For ye are not as yet come to the rest and to the inheritance, which the Lord your God giveth you.
We have not yet come into this rest and into the inheritance which the Lord God has given us. But you leave it up to the Christian church. Oh, I'm saved. I'm sanctified. I'm resting in Jesus now. You're not resting, bro. How in the hell you resting amongst all these heathens that's killing our people? This ain't no rest.
This is Hebrews chapter 4 and verse 9. There remaineth therefore a rest to the people of God.
There remains a rest to the people of God, right?
Con, this is verse 11. Let us labor therefore to enter into that rest.
So in order to get into this rest, in order to get into the kingdom, we got to labor. How do we labor? We labor in this word day and night faithfully. We labor coming out here in the streets, telling our people who they are, telling our people to repent.
Lest any man fall after the same example of unbelief.
Lest after any man falls after the same example of unbelief, right? How does unbelief, how is that displayed in somebody's life when they're not keeping the commandments?
Con, this is Hebrews 4 and 1. Let us therefore fear, lest a promise being left us of entering into his rest.
So hold on. Let us therefore what?
Let us therefore fear.
You gotta fear. Why do you need to fear? It's a scary thing, man, to fall into the hands of the living God. It's a fearful thing.
Lest a promise being left us of entering into his rest, and if you should seem to come short of it.
You don't want to come short of that, man. You got the Most High God. He's prepared a place for us. He's prepared tabernacles for us to dwell and reign with him. Why would you want to forfeit that, all because of your wickedness and obedience?
For unto us was the gospel preached, as well as unto them. But the word preached.
Oh, yeah, disobedience.
It's a lot. It says, for unto us was the gospel preached, as well as unto them. But the word preached did not profit them.
Why did it not profit them?
Not being mixed with faith.
Not being mixed with faith. So you can hear this word being preached, man. But if you don't have that faith to mix that word in, that gospel message is planted on some fallow ground. He says, break up the fallow grounds of your heart, right?
Not being mixed with faith in them that heard it. For we, which I believe, do enter into rest, as he said, as I have sworn in my wrath, if they shall enter into my rest, although the works were finished from the foundation of the world.
Mm-hmm. So these works that the Most High God and this kingdom that the Most High God has prepared for us has already been ready from the foundations of the world. He already got this rest made ready for us. From the foundations of the earth. That's right.
This is the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 7, verse 7. Surely oppression maketh a wise man mad.
Oppression maketh a wise man mad. So if you're not mad in this day and age that we're living in, you're just simply not wise.
And a gift destroyeth the heart.
And a gift destroys the heart. Give me Deuteronomy 23 and 6. How does a gift destroy the heart, right? First of all, why is our people not mad? Because we've allowed the gifts that Babylon has given us to pacify us. We're not mad because they've given us these little petty ass jobs, right? They've given us these cars. They've given us loans to get these cars. They've given us loans to get these homes. Now you think you made it, right? When Esau gave you a little gift, right? You allowed that gift to distort true judgment, right? Now you're saying, oh well, maybe Esau's not as bad of a guy as everybody says that he is, because after all, I am living kind of comfortable. I do have a house I do have a pillow to lay my head on. I can't drive around in this Benz, right? But you're breaking the law of God. How is this?
It says in Deuteronomy 23 and verse 6, thou shalt not seek their peace nor their prosperity.
That's not what I wanted. Let's see. You got one? Okay.
This is Exodus 23 and 7. Salakia, verse 8. And thou shalt take no gift.
Thou shalt take no gift. Why?
For the gift blindeth the wise and perverteth the words of the righteous.
The gift that Esau gives us, or anybody gives us, is going to blind your eyes, and it's going to pervert your judgment. You're not going to be able to think clearly, right? So it's similar to, like, let's say for instance your son is in trouble, right? And he knows he's in trouble, but he's like, Daddy, I made you this in school today. And he's got this nice little card or whatever with his handprint on there, Hey, what's going on? Oh, okay. Yeah, so going back. So yeah, that's just equivalent to like your son, he knows good and well he's in trouble, right? For whatever type of disobedience he did to you. And he says, Daddy, I made you this in school, right? And he put his little handprint on it, to make it look all cute and shit to try to distort that judgment in your heart, right? And some parents, they actually fall for it. They allowed that gift from a child to pervert their judgment. Children have become our oppressors. That's a form of oppression.
It says in Micah 6 and 6, wherewith shall I come before the Lord and bow myself before the high God? Shall I come before him with burnt offerings, with cows of a year old? Will the Lord be pleased with thousands of rams, or with 10,000s of rivers of oil?
So all that we give the Most High God, all these things, these fatted lambs, right? All these different types of sacrifices that he asked us for, right? Although we give him all these things, is he still going to be pleased for it?
Shall I give my firstborn for my transgression, the fruit of my body for the sin of my soul? He has shewed thee, O man, what is good. And what doth the Lord require of thee? But to do justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with thy God.
So that's what he wants first and foremost, before we even give him these physical sacrifices. He wants us to give him that spiritual sacrifice that comes from the inside. He says, basically, give me 1 Samuel 15 and 22. 15, 22.
First Samuel 5, 15 and 22. And Samuel said, hath the Lord as great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as in obeying the voice of the Lord? Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice.
To obey is better than sacrifice. That's what the Most High wants. Yes, of course, he asked for these sacrifices of these fat calves and all those things, right? But he says to obey is better than all that, right? He wants you to get this spiritual connotation, this spiritual meaning before it manifests itself outwardly. And that's something our people has always missed. Circumcise, therefore, the foreskins of your hearts, right? Did I have you hold something?
No, yeah, bro.
Okay. Let's get Hosea 9 and 1.
That's the reason we put that out. We're supposed to walk in the ways of the Most High. We don't take no gift. Pretty much the reason I brought out that first precept was because that first passage was because like we're supposed to walk in the ways of the Most High. That's a command. So you know, just the way that the Most High, the same way He don't accept a gift, right? So it doesn't twist His judgment. We're supposed to do the same thing, right? And it says this in Deuteronomy 10 and 12. And now Israel, what doth the Lord thy God require of thee, but to fear the Lord thy God, to walk in all His ways, and to love Him, and to serve the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul, to keep the commandments of the Lord and His statutes, which I command thee this day for thy good. And real quick, it says in verse 17, just going into walking in all His ways. Verse 17, for the Lord your God is God of gods, and the Lord of lords, a great God, a mighty and a terrible, which regardeth not persons, nor taketh reward.
So He doesn't care who you are, right? Like, well, Father, like, you know, I'm the captain of 1,000. I'm the officer of 1,000. I don't care. You did wickedly, so you got to get this punishment, right? I don't care if you give me a gift along with it. He's not going to regard person, man. We serve a just and a true God. He executes His judgment righteously. Psalm chapter 9 says that He judges the world righteously, right? Esau may not think it's righteous because of what his allotments are going to be, but it's righteous. How is it not righteous for God to totally obliterate the souls of those people for what they have done to us, man? How is that not righteous?
This is Hosea chapter 9 verse 1. Rejoice not, O Israel, for joy as other people.
So Israel, don't be rejoicing like everybody else is rejoicing right now. This is their kingdom. This is their time to live it up. We don't need to be rejoicing. Why?
For thou hast gone a whoring from thy God.
We have gone a whoring from our God, man. We're serving Caesar boat, right? We're serving. We're attaching ourselves to the nation of Islam, to all these other nations, man. Things that were curses upon us.
Thou hast loved a reward upon every corn floor.
Basically saying that you're a horse and you're a prostitute. You're going to take a reward, right? You're selling yourself, all right? So with that, I want to say shalom.
Shalom.